Başlıyoruz hocam. Merhabalar herkese. Öncelikle Türkiye Rüzgar Enerjisi Birliği
Well, I would like to salute you all. Good morning. My name is Erinç Kısa. I worked as the vice president in TÜREP in the previous year. Well, this is a traditional conference, actually. So, wind power has an important place in the trade. It is going to be, will continue to be. And in today's session, we start a little late. Our apologies because of the arrival of the Vice Minister. We have delayed this session for half an hour or so. Apologies for this, and now we can start, I believe. Our distinguished speakers also are quite busy, so we do not want to keep them busier even. So we have defined a title for this session, the increase of the value and as well the framework of the policies. It is really important to the dynamics as well and figure out the dynamics. By the way, an important thing happened today. Distinguished Trump was elected as the president of the USA. Well, we will start maybe a speculation. It may wake you up because sometimes these sessions are a little boring. So this speculation might help us to wake a little bit up. In the first 10 months of 2024, we have generated wind energy and solar energy. And when we think of Turkey energy market in Turkey, 11% of the sector is fed by the wind power, and its market value is more than $2 billion. While the value of this session actually is quite high, very expensive. We will talk about this very valuable market. So, by the way, a few months ago, if we were to organize this meeting, the targets would have been different because our current target is 160,000. This is the updated objective. Every year, 5 gigabyte wind turbine plant is our target. $2 billion wouldn't stay here. So it is actually a different period, an important period. We are wind oriented. So I'm sure everyone would agree for the wind energy on the basis of the conference, we should continue with the operations because we have the conventional systems. So I believe that we can focus on the electric market now more. Now let's hear distinguished speakers. They are quite impactful, actually, people from the sector. Ms. Sıla may prefer not to be a speaker. Maybe after my speculation, I'll give the floor to you first. So let's start with your evaluations. Well, the Paris Agreement is now cancelled. There are many negotiations and as well changes related to the climate change, and the targets were set by the USA, and I don't think that it is going to impact the situation negatively. However, during the negotiations, the Democrats The Democrats would probably follow the guidance of the USA. Tesla and Elon Musk is the biggest supporter of Mr. Trump, and the carbon income is maximum for him at the moment. So financially, it is actually a huge source. So I don't think that the USA can leave the table sharply. However, it is going to be, of course, a challenging feature and a period about the carbon. So carbon income is a question mark for the companies. Well, in the work plans, I don't know if we can add actually an item for it or not. Thank you very much for this very short comment, distinguished speaker. Let's start the session now with the presentations of our speakers. Our first speaker is going to be someone normally wouldn't actually participate to such conferences that frequently. Valuable Energy Trade President. Could you please make a summary of the past year? What was your expectations and how it turned out? We are approaching towards the end of the year, so what would you say? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. How did it go the last year? Let me share my comments with you right away. We are not having our best times, of course. Ozan could reply it better than I am. Our energy market actually had great days. So now, I would say that, especially for the renewable energy, we have the fixed prices. The reason why is that there is a rule change. We have the actually price, but now it is more practical. Of is something else. It looks like as if it is the sword of the democracy. It is impacting the trust issues, of course, within the market. We can elaborate on what we are losing partially, though. Is the energy trade association? We got your idea. Thank you very much. In one of the sessions, we are going to talk about YEKTEM. It is also, I believe, a time to decide on YEKTEM. According to our own calculation, there is actually an indecisive 4,000 megawatt of wind turbine. Would it stay there or not? Because they would like to sell electricity, they collect the price offers. Should they admit it or not? Should they stay within the market? So we will actually negotiate with them, of course. Should we just talk about these issues just right at the moment or afterwards? I don't know. Let's see. Let's decide maybe according to the reaction of our participants. Well, I consider myself as the intern of Mr. Hakkı. I was working in the institution as an intern myself. I never forget, one day I was in his room. The frequency was around 49.2, 49.3, 49.2. I remember that he looked at the chronometer and then suggested that we should talk maybe later. I remember that. While I remember even his face, how he looked exactly on that minute. So, Mr. Hakkı, I know that you have a presentation, right? Now I can give the floor to you. Thank you very much. My name is Hakkı Özatı from EPİAŞ. I am the manager of the registration and reconciliation. From 2000 until 2010, I worked in TİAŞ. I had different roles and I worked in different positions. And in 2014, I started working Energy Markets Regulation Board, and I worked as the consultant of the president. And in the last 5 years, I am the group as well president. Within the years that I have been working, I also worked in the regulation as well work. And EPİAŞ, now I am working as the General Director of Reconciliation. First of all, I would like to thank to TÜREP, which is the organizer of this event. I was their member of the board in the periods of 2016 until 2017. I'm very proud of it. I'm really happy to be part of the meeting. Let me start the presentation. I'll mostly talk about the wind power and its progress, and afterwards I'll talk about HES and GES journeys of our country. Last week, distinguished minister has declared about the renewable energy launching program already. So we have, of course, projections for the future. Renewable energy is now part of the system. We might face with different challenges and problems. What could be these challenges? In TİAŞ, we need to evaluate it from the systematical point of view, and also we need to elaborate on the regulation part of these challenges.
Konu başlığımıza da uygun bir şekilde bizim rüzgar enerjisinde değer artışı
Value increase in the wind power should be elaborated as well by the speakers. I'll touch upon this, what type of a market is expecting us for the future, as well as another issue that I'm planning to talk about. We have installed power. It is 114,000. Wind-sourced annual installed power progress can be followed on the graphic. We see a very serious progress within the years. It is 12,369,000 at the moment.
geçmişte bu sene neler oldu?
Let me talk about what had happened in the past.
Haber kanallarında ya da sosyal medyada hem yöneticilerin
On the news or on the social media, from time to time, we see the record numbers that are declared by the ministry. We are very proud of such news. On hourly basis, on the day of 29th of June 2024 at 5 o'clock exactly, we broke the record with the generation of 10,135 megawatt. This is a real figure, by the way. And also on 8th of January at 1 a.m., wind-sourced electricity generation reached to the highest level with an increase of 36.1%. On the 7th of January, wind electricity generation as well broke a record with the generation of 220 gigawatt. And also, we can say that on that day, wind source total electricity generation covered the 30% of the total need of the country. So, we also broke another record on the July with 4.22 terawatt. Here you would see the blue line that shows the figures and as well the progress of 2024 comparing to the last 5 years. It has reached to the highest figures actually on this year.
Peki rüzgar kaynaklı elektrik üretiminde Türkiye
If we are to compare Turkey to Europe and the world,
Avrupa ve dünya kıyaslamasına bakın.
what could we say?
Aslında Türkiye olarak
Turkey
2024 yılının ilk 9 ayının rüzgar üretimi
in the first 9 months of 2024 is ranked as the 5th country of Europe.
dünyada ise
And in the world, Turkey is ranked as the 9th country in the world. You could see the other countries, you could see as well their generation quantity. China is number 1, then comes USA.
Avrupa sıralaması kurulu güç olarak Avrupa
From the perspective of installed power, where do we stand in European ranking and world ranking? For the Europe, Turkey was ranked as the 7th country for 2023, and for the world ranking, we were ranked as the 12th country in 2023.
yine rüzgardan devam ediyoruz.
Let me continue with wind.
Türkiye'de kaynak
In Turkey, we have Turkey source based weight average leveled electricity cost graphic, which is on the left side, and on the right side you could see the wind, and also we can see the red line that shows specifically the wind. From 2010 until 2023, it is 44.4. This is a decrease for the cost. Natural gas actually has impacted the general costs caused by the pandemic, and as well Russia and Ukraine war as well impacted the general situation, and also this is the case for the coal. And such increases actually specify these specific terms. And on the right side, you could see a graphic about Turkey weighted average installation cost of onshore wind farm, 2.8. Was the first actually figure, and now we see that this installment power dropped from 2.81 to 1.43 billion. Of course, these are really important advantages for the investors.
Yine dünyada kurulum maliyet kıyaslamasına gelecek olursak
Another graphic that shows onshore wind weighted average power plant installation cost comparison. And Turkey is not in a bad position. Of course, each country has their own dynamics, economical framework.
Türkiye olarak bizim
As country,
GES yatırım yolculuğu
we have an investment journey of RES and GES. Where are we exactly? How would this journey go? On the very bottom, you see the periods of 2005 until 2024.
18.700 megawatt GES
This has a capacity of 18,700 megawatt for gas, and for RES it is 12,400 megawatt for the RES. For the period of 2025 until 2035, we have more objectives and intentions. Our objectives for RES is 26,000, and for gas it is 43,000. TREF has a motto of 5 gigabyte per year. I think that it exceeds even this target, right? This slogan is quite claimful. 2 years ago, storage, RES and gas, right after the amendment on the law, as well had pre-licenses, and there were important as well applications. And at the moment, we have official actually investments for RES and gas for the storage. It is 23,500 for the unlicensed investment. This is the expectation. It is 5 biraj. So this is the figures. These are the figures that we see. There is an intensified focus. If we are to look at the licensed investments, it is number is 9,200 megawatt, and also 3,000 investment is for Rijeka. So we will see it. So 79,000 megawatt is RES and gas. And for RES gas also, a separate 69,000 of investment is going to be made. So when we just think of the local and international investors, it can actually create a serious work. Our ministry has a collaboration and a cooperation in international areas and a platform. Yes, these investments are going to be made, and it is great. And then what do we expect more? What type of challenges could we see? Now let me touch upon these issues as well. Mr. Hakkı, maybe I can just intervene and maybe get an idea. I can continue with Mr. Ozan maybe for a little while. We have this session that focuses on the wind energy. We have structures of DGS, for example, and in the previous years also we have seen experiences, and we have many professionals among us that are investing in the wind energy and all. So I believe that in the coming years, well, there are certain expectations. So what type of a market should we expect? How could we progress? What should we do about the electricity as well markets? Well, what would happen? What could we expect? So there are people who would like to be a part of the system for this year. Is this $76 actually per hour? Would it be a dream come true or not? So how would be the situation in the future? We would like to get your ideas. Could you please just intervene and introduce yourself first? You are a celebrity there. Everyone knows you.
Ozan Korkmaz.
This is Ozan Korkmaz, but there's a problem with the sound. Now Well, this is Ozan Korkmaz. I am the founder of two companies, A Plus and Smart Plus. Well, I try to grasp some of your questions. Let me talk about the price estimation beforehand, because it is really difficult. When we make an estimation about the price as well, we can actually divide the inputs into two parts. There are basic inputs, like the main inputs, fundamental ones that are related to energy markets itself, and there are certain inputs related to regulations. So among fundamental inputs, there are political issues, climate-related issues, like the price of the gas, natural gas or the coal, and also the climate, the temperature, and the water amount in the rivers, etc. If we are able to predict them, if these are the inputs only, we could be clear with the statistics and more interpretation, but this is mainly related to regulation, like the cap price and the gas price in the globe. Maybe it could be X, but what about the price in Turkey? So we have this kind of questions, whether there's going to be an incentive to the local investors so that they can work in return of base load. And what about TEİAŞ? There are certain fundamental questions that could be used as an input in our structure. There's another layer. Scenarios, for instance, are based on cap price, whether the cap price is going to increase or not. Let's say it is 3,000 now, around $85. The price could be maximum $85. And how can 2024 be better? If there's no motivation on the consumer side, how can the producers sell their electricity? I'm talking about the commerce, by the way, and not investment-related things, because there are grid problems, connection, permit issues. There could be certain challenges on the grid, but the issues that I'm speaking about are related to the markets itself. What's going to happen next year, whether power plants are to be involved in YEKDEM or not? Well, we make some estimations, and based on those estimations, we can make speculations, and producers should decide themselves. Well, in an environment that there is too many risks, if there is purchasing based on fixed price, possible good scenarios are not very good, because the price is $85. How can it be increased further? YEKDEM seems to be illogical this year. Whether the price is going to change or not, this is important for us, because with this base price, we can't leave a very balanced market to TEİAŞ. On Monday, I checked it already. Within 6 hours, the price increased by 3,000 TL. And the hours of that price increase was equal to 20,000 megawatt hours of energy deficiency in the market, in the system. That's why this can answer certain questions. If the base price was higher than this, we would give more balanced system to TEİAŞ. Do we need batteries? Well, 20,000 megawatt hours. How did we control this, for instance? Maybe that amount of electricity could be stored, or we could have stored water. Maybe in another crisis, if natural gas prices would be increased by 10 times, like it happened in August 2022, these are all probabilities, by the way, then we would spend water by $85 in order to keep the system in balance. And on the other side, we know that there is big inflation period in Turkey, and we don't want any burden on the consumers. I highly appreciate that perspective, because nobody wants to create any burden on the consumers, but it creates challenges on us. Well, I try to answer some of your questions well. Thank you so much. From this onwards, I'd like to go back to Bilal. Bilal, you have the title of being a president. Well, that's why you can't maybe explicitly speak because of your position. When it comes to mutual agreements, Ozan Bey has already mentioned that there is already base price, why there should be some limitations. Maybe the storage is not active yet. Maybe you can talk about these mutual agreements in this market, because these mutual contracts are very less in number. Well, can you please elaborate on this? It will be really nice. Ozan is a member of our energy association, and his company is a very expert one in the market. It's a very experienced one, and there is nothing that I can add on top of what he has mentioned. Our market, unfortunately, is not going to the direction that we wanted, and it might lead into this. Perhaps I can talk about the result only. Well, the minister has announced the new roadmap, as you all know, and each and every year there are YEKA tenders with YEKDEM. There are new things, new announcements. And at the very point that Turkey is trying to reach, there are certain mechanisms which are guaranteed by the public authorities, like low carbon production and renewable energy, but it has not been established yet. Well, in Europe, there are certain tenders which are similar to YEKA tenders, SEIFA contract for tenders. This is what they say. This is very similar to YEKA tenders. Well, CFT and corporate PPAs are done. But when there is one CFT, there is PPAs. Like there are 4 of them. So there are not many burdens on the public side in this respect. Why can't we do the same thing? Why the mutual bilateral contracts markets are not like this? Why they can't exceed 1 year? Because all the contracts are based on FX. There is price barter there is this market barter price. But what is the benefit of it? It has nothing to do with the producers, and they can't utilize it in their financing. So there are a lot of problems if I'm to speak about them, but these are reversible things. We can do it. Maybe Ozan can elaborate on this. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about them, but I know this very well. If you rewind the story back, there is not a big dramatic effect of electricity prices. I think there is a breakthrough going on. There is surplus of demand, supply. So I think on the electricity side, we can restore energy prices. Hakkı, thank you so much. We have listened to two very valuable seniors' interpretation to this slide. I hope it's beneficial for you as well. Well, Ozan and Bilal have touched upon the commercial and market-related side of our business. And since we don't have so much time, we are planning to finish at 1 p.m., by the way, in order not to steal from your lunchtime. RES and GES, wind and solar energy investment periods might bring up some challenges. We are all aware of these challenges, and we can add different challenges, by the way. From this current structure, I know that TEİAŞ is suffering a lot. Is it though? Yes. Currently, for TEİAŞ, it is very difficult to manage the system, because when I was in EMRA, I listened to a lot of complaints from their side, because they say that we can't reduce the volume of the orders in the system. If the groups that are responsible of balance corrected this problem, I would have given less orders or instructions. This is how they used to complain in the past. And I will talk about this later on. On the connection lines, again, it is possible to increase the capacities. Mr. Minister has already announced this. There are constraints on the grid side. TEİAŞ has investments in this, but as the renewable energy integration has increased, these limitations, constraints, are to be corrected simultaneously. And renewable interrupted energy might lead some imbalances. YEKDEM, YEKAM might increase, and YEKDEM, PTFD. As the YEKDEM volume increases, PTFDs are irrespective of the price, gives their offers. So PTFDs should be at zero levels. These are some of the problems that we have. I've mentioned the lack of balance. And let me tell you this. As of 2021, as you see, this is September 2024, between this reconciliation period, 40 billion kilowatt-hour Cube SM. Maybe you might have heard this, but for those who haven't heard about this, let me elaborate on this. This is related to the deviation amount of the already defined day-ahead production amounts. So this shows us that there is an imbalanced production rate given to TEİAŞ, and wind has 50% lack of balance ratio in the overall structure, and wind power plants production should not be adding more imbalance. But how can we decrease this 40 billion? What can you say? Is there any way to decrease this amount? Well, I see 20 million, by the way. Sorry, yes, it is 20 million. Yes, 40 million is the total number, and 20 million comes from the wind. Well, we can say this, no matter what happens, TEAS, well, this CUP SM, this CUP's amount is related to the lack of balance, and it can only be done with certain processes in the day-ahead market. And well, the processes should be initiated 90 minutes before the doors are closed, the day is closed. Well, 90 minutes is not making the situation better. Well, should it be 15 minutes or half an hour? Well, it is 10%, as you see. I am speaking on average, by the way. I haven't seen any power plant which can reduce it down lower than 10%. This is for Turkey. Maybe in average in Europe it could be different. The tolerance rate is 21% for wind power plants. Well, already a big tolerance ratio range is given to wind. Maybe it has to be decreased, but on the storage it is decreased. Well, yes, I was just going to talk about this. After all this, we need some innovation to increase value in the market in terms of the regulations, etc. As you all know, I guess it was in May, aggregation business model has been drafted and amendments in other regulations have been drafted again. As far as I know, within this month, this regulation will be passed by the board. This aggregation mechanism is new, and this is requiring new licensing. Along with this, we can see contribution from the demand side, and this is something that we have been expecting for many years. With this draft regulation, the groups that are responsible for the balance would be restructured, and this new regulation is going to decrease the imbalance on the RES and gas, I mean wind and solar power plants. With the storage addition, imbalance levels are going to be decreased, and also the stored are wind and solar are going to be on the auxiliary services market, side services market, and also on the power market there's going to be 15-minute reconciliation. I guess a month ago, second package has been offered to the public opinion. EMRA worked with EPİAŞ and TEİAŞ, and they wanted to switch to 15 minutes of reconciliation by 2027. It's not clear yet, but these are going to be evaluated, and there's going to be 15 minutes of reconciliation. Sorry, there are some questions. Ozan would like to ask a question. Well, you say the 15 minutes of reconciliation, when it happens on GIP and GÖP, can we go to these levels? But if these are an hour in other programs, it's not going to make our job easier, and it's not going to have big benefits on the battery side. Day ahead, or day market and day ahead market, should it be different? And responsible owner groups, responsibility, so balance groups, you say that they are not deeming their functions, but actually They are doing big jobs. They help the problems to be eliminated with respect to the balance issues. Well, I'm trying to say this. If these problems are solved for the investors, I think it's a big function. Well, there's going to be the aggregation mechanism. Well, aggregation is not free from the balance-related responsibilities, because in Europe there are aggregators and also the balance responsible groups. Well, these groups that are responsible of balance will not be eliminated, but their current, let me say this, well, I have already mentioned it, but in this market, positive and negative imbalances are calculated on documents and they are defined as net imbalance. But I am an old TEIAŞ worker, by the way. These are not reflected on TEIAŞ works. This draft regulation says that minus or plus, that portion up to 20% should be made clear. But if there is a situation involving an imbalance which is more than 20%, then it could be on the market participants' own issues. Well, maybe this is something that we need to clarify. Definitely on this draft, it has been mentioned that more than 20% is not going to be the topic on this reconciliation, but we are not sure yet. Let's say there are two market participants and they have 100 megawatts. And in this 100 megawatts, they have mentioned that they're going to make 100 megawatt production, and the other one has produced 80, or the other has produced 120, or 79, or 121. So what's the expense of that additional one? Well, it does not have an impact on the balancing function of TEIAŞ. Well, there could be certain methods to reduce this. Okay, certain investors have capabilities, but believe in me that we have very good investors, and this balancing function is very helpful for many investors, and I believe that we should be more flexible. Well, here the cost is going to be reflected on all users, and I think we have to think about this too. As far as I understand, for the players on the energy trade, this is not something expected. And Ozan has another question, that 15 minutes of reconciliation extension, is this going to be 15 minutes? And in day market, yes, we want it to be 15 minutes. Well, to be honest, I don't know about this. Maybe it has to be discussed, but the priority was given to balancing power market. In terms of the meters, reconciliation data is not very stable. Meters are on the reconciliation after being profiled. Is it still the case? Yes. Maybe this national smart meter system is going to be much more widespread, and thanks to that, EPH can get better data, and on the in-day and day-ahead programs, 15 minutes could be possible, but there are some technical problems. That's why maybe Energy Association is going to sponsor these issues. Well, in order to have 15 minutes of reconciliation in the balanced markets, these meters and profilings should be made by 2027.
Bundaki sayaç verilerinin
The value of the meters, unfortunately, they do not flow healthily, and it is a problem. If we can improve it on the GÖP side for 15 minutes, reconciliation can be made, I believe. SMF, well, this value just actually gives a different result for every 15 minutes. So we know also that there are trend generations for the solar. Also, there are many trends for the sunrise and sunset. It is also the case for the wind. We have a high wind and a low wind, intense one and non-intense type of wind exists. So that's why we need to consider all the trends. But if we cannot do anything else, I think that it is going to be an extra cost for the investor. So that's why the GIB well, should be part of the process at least, because including the whole Europe, including as well Bulgaria and Romania, GIB also should agree with exactly the same values, and also the day-ahead market exists as well, the 15 minutes, but there are some countries such as Bulgaria and Romania, the time difference exists in the day-ahead market. I think that day-ahead market should get closer to the real time. This is how I think. However, on the TH side, we have a technical problem. So we have Habib also update. So I agree with you. I agree with you. Well, about the framework draft, yes, I have ideas, and they shouldn't be actually replacing with one another. DSG is another function. We need them both. So we use it in the market, of course. Sometimes we have some also the damages and all. So, of course, the public authorities always follow what we say. We keep sharing our ideas. By the way, we have invited them to the session as an institution. So, this is what we have done. I have one last page. So here, let me talk about another activity. It is a new, actually, work model. It is the aggregation. So this is the new work model. We need to continue with the work, and it is regulated with the law. For 1 year, we are working on a secondary legislation, which is about the aggregation. So the aggregators on their own portfolio, they could include the generation facilities and the plants with the license and without a license, by the way. Such plants cannot exceed a total 2,000 megawatts, by the way. However, the regulation board can change it. The generation plants without the license cannot exceed 500 megawatts. These are the limits that we have. Aggregator, when it comes to the plants. Well, by the way, in the very nature of the aggregators, they should work with the dispersed actually plants, and they should have a special and a specific portfolio. This is the case, and this is also the case in the world. All the portfolios should be included, and also all the collection and the debt transactions and the collections. collaterals would be under the responsibility of the aggregator. There are also site services and the demand as well participation. They could be part of it, and if the license is over 10 years, they also can be part of it, part of this business. Plants without a license only then can be managed more professionally. There are comments on the market, though, right? Especially about the limits. I can make a comment as well about the limits after Mr. Ozan. This is all I was planning to say. Thank you very much. We have Vice President here. About the aggregation directive, we still expect it to be prepared. There is also a big change. These are, by the way, annual contracts. We don't have much time left. So, if possible, within this month, this directive should be published. This is what we expect as the sector. How about your comments on the limits? There shouldn't be really high limits, no matter what. We have to also think an aggregator can work with the 2000, and we are talking about a portfolio of thousands of maybe kilowatts of potential. So there are also the collaterals, and these are additional issues. So that's why if we have a limit of 2,000 and if there are 30 licenses for the aggregators and the 30 companies, could they really offer the required collateral is a question mark. So that's why there shouldn't be any limits. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. But maybe I can add one more thing. By the way, can I interrupt? Maybe I misunderstand. These are these are the maximum limits. So this is what I was saying. There shouldn't be any misunderstanding. On the source basis, the amount of the sources, these are also really important for the cubic meter. Also, there are concerns they are going to change. Probably the tolerance would be for the average, right? Yes. Otherwise, it is going to be actually unfair. It's going to be unfair. Yes, I totally agree. By the way, about the aggregation model, 8 legislations would be amended, and we have received already 500 pages of ideas. We have read them all. We made our own evaluations during the summer. Actually, we did it. Demand participation, demand contribution. I was talking to a firm actually recently, and they told me that they were making some money in Italy for 1 megawatt annually. They used to receive 50 million euros, and you would have the cutting right per year. And if there is actually a problem on the region, they are making cuttings during the year, and they do it every 5 times in a year. This is how we make a profit, and this is their actual way of income for this firm. On the demand contribution, I think that we need a source, we need also a budget of triage. Don't ask it to me. Don't ask it to me, please. So, in the end of the day, I don't know that much about the tariffs that are going to be proposed, and I don't know the exact amount of the sources yet. we need it, right? Yes, of course. If such a mechanism are to be created, then we need a motivation also for it. If you have such mechanisms, then you shouldn't actually invest in much. This is an automatic efficiency. So this is the high voltage DC. Well, there are a lot of things that we are planning to talk, but we don't have much time yet, unfortunately. So today, we have heard that Mr. Trump was elected as the new president of the USA, and his politics would be more aggressive for the coming days. These are the rumors. So, what are your comments? We have heard about your comment, though, and on the carbon markets. Maybe your ideas are changing. APH? Well, in which position is it? And would it integrate or not? So what would you say? Well, you have 5 minutes, please. You are capable of, I think, summarizing everything within 5 minutes. So I will share my presentation with you as well. Carbon markets are now actually facing through many challenges, and these challenges might contain some opportunities as well. In the past, there were some certain parameters that were impacting the situation, but now there are more components. Everyone is part of this business, including the state, private sector, and NGOs. So as the renewable sector, up until now, we have been active in the voluntary carbon market. We only actually experienced many other ways of doing the business only with our international partners. And now we have a new emission trade system that is going to be implemented on 25. We're talking about it is actually subtitles. However, it is impact on the fossil fuel, for example. We don't know the restrictions yet. So in Azerbaijan, a conference will be held, and the details are going to be elaborated on that conference this month, but the details probably wouldn't be so clear until 2028. Emission trade systems are impacted by Paris Agreement, and it was confirmed in 2015. However, until 2019, no action were taken by the countries. That's why Paris deal was agreed by the countries, and the carbon border adjustment mechanism was established by the countries. And the countries that are exporting, they have the obligation of actually paying for the polluting parties. We have a global carbon market. We are talking about the Paris Agreement, and we are talking about the receivers of the carbon license. There are many other technologies at the same time, but for renewable, there are two question marks. One of them is that consumers, would they have the green electricity usage or certificate? Well, it would be probably electricity usage for a while, but after a while, the carbon decrease would be probably the easiest to reach out. So we need actually a very easy way of reaching them certificates. It has to be as well monitorable. Monitoring is a precondition. So carbon certificates should be gathered by the parties. Voluntary carbon market initiative can publish their own rules, and they might say that do not take these certificates, but instead just maybe get a different certificate. And CORSIA, International Aviation Institutions, they also work for the decrease of the carbon, and as well they made a declaration. It's quite a new one. They have declared that they are going to use their gold standard and OVERA, and these are the certificates that they are going to admit, and this is as well guiding the markets too. What is defining the situation is the Paris Agreement. It brings three mechanisms. Until 2030, they are going to be shaped. Article 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8. In between the countries, intention agreements are already being signed. Sweden, for example, can get their own certificates, and Article 6.4 for the market and the non-market. It talks about the old Kyoto Protocol. It is similar to this of CDM. The carbon certificates could be eliminated from the country actually targets, and also we have Article 6.8 related to the non-market, and these are for the support of technological and financial projects. The world is now focusing on more the Article 6.2 and 6.4 majorly, but one thing is more important, the consumers, users, how do they understand it and what they would like to do. Do we want to support the new technology or not? If we are capable of supporting it, we need long-term PPAs. And this is actually something that is talked a lot in Europe. For example, after 2018, if there are new plants that are created, if you would like to get a license, and when there are maybe minus prices, then there is a seek for the maximum profit. This is the intention. In the coming period, the market volumes are here. We can also talk during the coffee break. The important thing is the demand would be up to 1 billion until 2030. Even it can be more than that. Consumers, if they do carbon emission release by using operational perfectionism, they cannot really decrease their carbon emissions. So that's why they need to reach out to their targets somehow, but they cannot do it alone, and they may have to receive offset loans together with the carbon decrease certificates. And now it is already experienced and it is quite clear. If there is any question I can receive, by the way, but 2025 and 2026 are going to be years that we will see more active issues. Yes, what you are saying is quite correct. So what I understand is that we will put a value to it, but it's not certain yet, right? Our policy is going to define it. A gold standard is the best standard at the moment. However, developed countries, they are not admitting any more wind projects anymore or gas projects. So So we have a target until 2030. The increase and the decrease, and as well by using the renewable energy investment, what we do is really focusing on this. We have an MTM, it is a matter of a discussion. This carbon process should start and should continue. Well, great, thank you very much. I talked too fast though. Thank you very much for the great summary. Maybe a final remark of mine. I would like to thank distinguished participants who are present in the hall. Thank you for being with us. I know that you are quite busy, but maybe we can receive 2 questions, right? Can we pass the microphone, please? We can receive 2 questions from distinguished participants. Well, thank you very much. I guess there's no question from the distinguished participants. TREC 2025 is going to be the next date that we will get together. Probably many things would be more clear. Until then, I wish you a really great and a fruitful conference. Thank you very much.
Moderatörümüz Erinç Bey'e bugünkü desteklerinden dolayı çok teşekkür ederiz. Ayrıca katılımcılarımıza da değerli görüşlerini paylaştıkları için teşekkürler. Kusura bakmayın, sesim biraz kısık. Şöyle takdim edeceğim Erinç sana.
Ozan Bey çok teşekkür ederiz. Anlam ve önemine el yapımı. Bilal Bey kusura bakmayın, saat 1'i geçirdik. Hakkınızı helal edin. Hakkı abi çok sağ olun. Sizi biraz böldük ama interaktif olması için hakkınızı helal edin.
Güzel oldu.
Sıra Hanım, seneye bekleriz.
Yine birlikteyiz
Bu
inşallah.
sefer 5 dakikada.
Bunlar.
Görüşmek dileğiyle arkadaşlar.
Abi.